5:53, talking your home and garden this morning. More homeowners deciding to hold on to their old homes and become landlords. That's because mortgage rates are low and rent is high. Allison Kosick now with more.
Looking to buy a new home? Maybe you don't have to sell the old one first. More Americans are holding on to their former homes and renting them out thanks to low mortgage rates and soaring rents. 19% of homeowners either purchased or refinanced homes between 2011 and 2013 when mortgage rates hit all-time lows, and rates are still historically low, averaging 4.2% last week for the 30-year fixed. At the same time, rents have risen about 20% nationwide since mid-2006. Of course, being a landlord isn't for everybody. You've got to make repairs, deal with tenants, and cover expenses, even if the property is vacant. But rental income can mean enough money for many homeowners to cover their mortgage and taxes on the house they actually do live in. Still, this trend is one factor holding back the housing recovery. Every home that becomes a rental property is one less that goes on the market. Low inventory has been a real problem, particularly in hot housing markets where few homes are up for sale. And low inventory can drive up prices and hurt sales growth. I'm Allison Kosick in New York.
And speaking of renting, we brought in the expert here, Jeff Ragan with Rent Tally. Good morning.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Doing fantastic. You know, a lot of people, there's so many questions and so many factors that go into renting. Yes. And, you know, for a lot of people, especially you take a place like Valdosta, you take a place like Tallahassee where there's so much college housing, and that right there kind of is the little curveball for a lot of people. Is there a big difference between student housing and just kind of regular renting?
Well, there's actually a very big difference. Even though, you know, many people, when they first begin their search, they don't really, it's hard to identify which one is student, which one is conventional. But the best way is just to look at, is it rented by the room or is it rented by the apartment? That will identify quickly whether it's a student housing or a conventional housing. And
kind of what's pros and cons for a college student to rent, you know, by the room as opposed to renting just the whole unit?
Well, obviously cost. The reason for the rent by the room is to lower their costs. They're sharing the overall expenses with other students. The advantage to them is that their lease is an individual lease, so they're only leasing one bedroom, so if somebody else doesn't pay their rent, they're not getting evicted. So there's a number of advantages for the student to look at the student housing over conventional housing.
Let's say you're, you know, just a traditional family or a young couple. Where do you start to search for renting? In a place like Tallahassee specifically, I mean, do you start online? Do you drive around the neighborhood? Where do you start?
Well, I suggest people begin their search online. Everybody does today anyway, right? I mean, for whenever they're looking for a house or an apartment. And if you search, let's say, Tallahassee apartments online, you'll see a variety of ILSs come up, internet listing services. And what they'll do is they'll feature different communities. And so you will search through those listings and find out which one is the student housing that you may be looking for, or is this one a conventional housing? Is it rented by the apartment? So families would obviously be more geared toward conventional, students into the student housing. Let's
say someone, they find the ideal location, then what should they look for? I mean, should they kind of test the house out, make sure it's in good working condition for actually, you know, signing the lease?
Oh, absolutely. By touring the community, and going in and looking at the amenities and the different features that are in that community, in that apartment. It's always nice if they can ask to see the actual apartment they're going to rent, so they can go in and check everything.
Not look for just the model room, but look for the actual unit.
Right.
Okay.
I think that many people, they look at the model and then, oh, this is nice, it's all decorated, but try to ask for the room that you're actually going to be renting.
And real quick, too, it's not uncommon to ask for a deposit, but is there any, you know, typically it's 1 month, is it unusual to ask for 3 months or anything like that?
Well, in student housing, it's normally just a small deposit, and it's like a 1-year lease. Same thing with conventional housing.
Okay, good advice there. Jeff Ragan with Rent Tallahassee, thank you very much. Hopefully this is great advice to help you get the search and learn more about Rent Tally and other ways of renting. Check out our website, WTXL.tv. Much more coming up in 2 minutes.